Under Ash, Rutgers really didn't have a pulse. And I don't really feel that way about the program under Shiano.
The dedication and effort it takes to pull off an 8 lateral touchdown, that's amazing. I know it's strange to be positive about the Jets, but the Jets are losing with a purpose right now.
If you're a Jets fan, you just got to stick it out until the end of the season. Hang in there. Better times are coming.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping Score with Josh and Ray, a podcast show dedicated to bringing analysis of Rutgers sports and sports around the country. I'm Josh.
And I'm Ray.
And in today's show, we're going to recap Rutgers football's loss against Indiana, and then preview next week's game against Ohio State, and then recap Week 8 of NFL football. So I'll start. Rutgers lost to Indiana Week 2 of the Big Ten season, 7-21. Now, 60-point loss, not great, right? But the thing is our defense was playing their tails off. I mean, it was incredible. They kept getting stops, but the problem is that our quarterback, Noah Vedral, right? He threw 3 interceptions, and compared to the Michigan State game, he looks fine. This game, he looked like a deer in the headlights. He just was duped by Indiana's defense. They do have a good defense. They're a ranked team. You got to give it to them there. But he made one good throw to Bo Melton that went for a touchdown, about 23 yards. The whole game. That's the only play he made for 4 quarters. That's really all he did. The other touchdowns we scored were the running game. So, yeah, that was a pretty bad performance by Vedral, and it does not give me confidence in his ability to do well against Ohio State. However, the defense and run game were both extremely on point. So there were positives to take from this game, in addition to the 8 lateral play that went for a touchdown that got called back. That was a pretty amazing play, one of the most amazing football plays I've ever seen across any level or any game, whether pro or college. So what are your thoughts, Ray?
Yeah, just to touch on Vedral. Like you said, he didn't have a good showing at all. You know, one of his interceptions was especially costly. It came in the, I believe in the second quarter, and it was on Rutgers' own 19-yard line. You know, and that led to a touchdown. And it just really wasn't a good day for him. You know, he ended the game with 130 yards, 3 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, it just wasn't really a good showing for him. You know, in the game against Michigan State, it's not like he was lighting up the box score either. You know, I think he was pretty passive with the stats. So, you know, I think that may be something to watch as the season goes on if Rutgers continues to stick with him at quarterback. Because right now, he's not really providing a whole lot of, you know, oomph that Rutgers kind of needs.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's like he's not really adding anything. The only thing he adds really is his ability to run and extend plays, but that's not enough, right? That's a nice trait for a quarterback, especially in today's era of football. The quarterbacks are usually mobile, but he needs to be able to throw. I mean, you know, he also threw a touchdown to Melton in the fourth quarter, right? But 130 yards passing for 34 throws, that's terrible. That's actually god awful. So I mean, you know, 130 yards you could get in the first quarter if you're a good quarterback. You know what I mean? 130 yards for 4 quarters. That is just, I mean, you know, and he was throwing the ball all day. It's not like, you know, he threw 10 times. He was throwing 34 pass attempts. So yeah, I mean, that is just not good. Pacheco had a good game as usual. He's one of the best players on the team. He had about 56 total yards on just a few touches. Also, Kayron Adams had a nice touchdown run of the other Rutgers running back, so that was good. And I was just talking about Vedral's ability to run and extend plays. He didn't even do that well in this game. He had 14 carries for 16 yards. That's 1 yard a carry. I'm like, what? He's supposed to be a mobile quarterback, and he wasn't even doing that well. So it's like, what are you adding to the team? You know what I mean?
Not much.
Not much. There you go. So yeah, I just don't even, you know. I mean, the problem is that we don't really have alternatives. Like, I like Johnny Langan, you know, but like, you know, he's not really gonna move the needle in, you know, as a Big Ten quarterback. Art Sikowski, I think we've seen enough of him, in my opinion, already. I don't think he's ready for this level, and that's fine. It's just we just need better recruits at the quarterback position, because I think the defense is ready. They were holding their guard for the whole game. But the problem is that Vigil kept turning the ball over and gave Indiana short fields. I remember one of the interceptions, he got hit as he threw. It was like on the 10-yard line, and the ball went straight up in the air. It was an easy interception, and Indiana had to drive like 8 yards for a touchdown. You know what I mean? So you can't blame that on the defense. If he doesn't throw those picks, it's a whole different story. So, yeah.
Yeah. I guess looking at Rutgers' other options, like you mentioned, they do have Sikowski and they do have Langen. But I mean, if you look at what Langen did last year to start off, it's what is he going to give you? So I really don't think that's going to help if we switch him out. Sikowski, to be honest, I believe he redshirted last season after the first game or two. Our quarterback depth is not very strong, to say the least. And I think that's something that hopefully Schiano kind of looks out for on the recruiting trail, because, going forward, Rutgers definitely needs a little bit of a step up at that position. But I guess moving around the positions a little bit, like you said, Kayron Adams had a 37-yard touchdown. I believe that brought Rutgers a little bit closer, and I think the score was 23-15 after that. But yeah, he had a good game. Pacheco had a good overall game. He still tallied a good amount. So I think that was something nice to see.
Yeah, well, the only reason why he didn't have that many rushing yards because he kept throwing the ball because they were down multiple scores, so they had to go away from the run game. But he had an excellent 2-point conversion reception. That it was just like amazing. Vigil throws to him on a screen because that's just mostly what he was doing all day. And Pacheco just kind of shook a defender on his own. He didn't have a block and just dove to the pylon and scored. And it was a great play that energized the team. Rutgers had 121 rushing yards, 33 attempts, 3.7 yards per rush. That's pretty solid. But obviously the issue is turnovers, right? We had 3, Indiana had 0. That's the whole story right there. Even take away 2 of those picks, it's easily a 1-score game. I think the defense is ready to compete at the Big Ten level. Obviously not something that was the case last year. And I think the run game is ready to compete at the Big Ten level. The only thing that's we're behind on is the pass game, right? And for the pass game, we need a quarterback that can throw. So here's the thing, right? That's so much better than we were last year already. Through two games of the Schiano era, we have 2 facets of the team already pretty much ready to compete. Now we just need the passing game to come along, right? So, last year where there was nothing, the whole team was nothing, right? So that's a lot better, looking at it from a positive standpoint.
Yeah, I think they definitely do show some things that can give you some hope going forward. And, I guess kind of staying on the positive aspects of the game, I think we should touch on the 8 lateral play at the end.
Yes.
To me, it felt like one of those moments where, Rutgers, they already lost. But to just kind of see that there, it's just kind of like something fun. And you're thinking, okay, this is fun to watch, even when, they scored the touchdown that was ultimately called back. But it was just kind of something fun to watch. It reminded me of a typical Rutgers game where you're just looking for some type of enjoyment, because the way they're playing really doesn't give any at the end of the day. But, I think it was just a really fun thing to watch.
Not only was it a fun thing to watch, but it's just the effort level. The team during the Chris Ash era would not have tried that. They would have just accepted just the loss and would have just gave up and laid down. Under Schiano, the team is going to keep competing until the final whistle. You know what I mean? So, I actually read an article about that on, I think it was NJ.com. They were saying how it's like that play, even though it doesn't count, it's so important because it shows how much more they're trying to win. Even if they don't win every game, they're going to try their hardest, even when the game's out of reach, because they just want to put in effort. And that counts for a lot. And I got to give them credit for that, and just to pull off that play, even though it got called back, because I think it was wide receiver Shameem Jones's lateral might have gone forward by like a yard. It was really small, but just to pull that off was amazing. I mean, it was incredible. Obviously, it was lucky too, but it still was just the dedication and effort it takes to pull off an 8 lateral touchdown. That's amazing, and the teamwork. So that was pretty cool.
I guess looking forward a little bit, I think Rutgers is going to need all of the, for lack of a better word, miracles that they can get. And they're going to need to put in, I guess, some more effort come Saturday against Ohio State. Because looking at that game, they're at the Buckeyes home field, and Ohio State's 2-0. They just beat Penn State 38-25. And, I think we already touched on this last week, but let's be real. They're not. I don't see them winning at all. Ohio State is also ranked number 3 in the AP Top 25. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about them. I mean, they're a really good team. They're one of the best teams in the nation. Sorry, Rutgers. I think you better just kind of go into this one, hoping to do well. But I think we all know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah, so you said it, right? We're not going to win this game, right? We're just going to say that right now. That's fine. Because Ohio State is, could easily win the national championship this year. That's not an exaggeration. We're just not there yet. That's fine. We're still rebuilding. We're developing. We're still recovering from the Chris Ash era. That was so horrible. And Shiano is building something here, and it's going to take time, and we're not going to be at Ohio State level after 2 weeks, right? That's fine. But the good thing about it is being in competition with a team that good, it can only help our development, right? Because then it's like, you're facing the best of the best. It's primetime game, 7:30. Rutgers doesn't play primetime very often, so that's pretty cool. And, it's just like, do the best you can and see what happens, right? If they keep it within a 2-score game, I'll be very happy with that. Ohio State's quarterback, Justin Fields, could easily win the Heisman. He could be the second pick in the NFL draft after Trevor Lawrence. He's that good. I think I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how he's only thrown like 7 incompletions the whole season. Even it's been 2 games, but still, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Ohio State has a high-powered offense. They have one of the best defenses in the nation. The program is just much further along than we are, and therefore they will win. But it's all about the effort level, and it's all about how kind of well we do, right? If we, and the spread is Ohio State's favored by 38 points, right? If we lose by, say, 16 or 17 points instead, it's much better, than 38. I wouldn't be happy with, but 16 or 7, about a 2-possession, maybe 3-possession game, that would be understandable considering where we are as a program and where they are as a program. I mean, because think of it like this: Noah Vigil was lost against Indiana's defense. They were 17th ranked, and Ohio State is 3rd in the nation. So think about that. The passing game will not be pretty. We just gotta use our defense and run game. That's just going to be probably our mantra for this whole season. That's pretty much the story there.
If we do keep it within a 2-score game, I would definitely be happy with that. The 38-point spread kind of makes me chuckle a little bit because it makes me think of last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ohio State was favored to win by 52.5 points.
Right. Yeah.
That I believe it was that. And you know what? Rutgers covered it. They ended up losing 56-21, but they covered the spread.
Right.
That was definitely an exciting moment, I think, for Rutgers fans, even though they lost terribly. But
yeah, right.
But yeah, if they do manage to keep it a competitive game, I think that's something that's not a fluke. I think you can look at Shiano's coaching and say that he definitely could be the reason behind that. Because, you look at last year where under Ash, Rutgers really didn't have a pulse. The whole program, I think, was just kind of depressing. And I don't really feel that way about the program under Shiano. Given it's only 2 games, but still, they put up a good effort in Michigan State. They came away with a win. And against Indiana, there was some positive parts of the team. But yeah, I think against Ohio State, they're just going to have to do what they can with those positive parts and just move along and see what happens.
Yeah, I just want to see him take care of the ball. I want to see a decent day from the defense. They're not going to shut down Ohio State's offense, right? But just a decent day, maybe hold them to like 35 points, something like that. That would be pretty cool. They're not going to light up the day passing the ball. Rutgers is. I mean, Rutgers will not light up the day passing the ball. But I just don't want to see interceptions thrown, and I want to see them just keep it competitive for 4 quarters, or at least semi-competitive, and don't get blown out by 40 or 50. That would be a nice way to see the game play out. Because I was saying, like, after Ohio State, you got Illinois. They're not scaring anybody. Then we got Michigan, who lost to Michigan State, and we beat Michigan State. So I think we have a chance there. So yeah, after Ohio State, the schedule is really not it's really not, concerning me that much. I think we could easily get 4 wins at the rate we're playing. So yeah, I think this season's going to be a big step forward regardless.
Yeah, the schedule really isn't that fearsome. As of now, there's only one other ranked team that we're facing, and that's Michigan. That obviously could change by the time we get to Penn State, but I don't think Penn State has really been having a good year through 2 games either.
Not at all.
But yeah, we have Illinois on November 14th. So I think that Rutgers, like you said, they could take some steps this season. Hopefully they're going to improve. But, I think definitely next season and most likely the season after that, it's going to be more about just improving. We're not looking to have a 8-0 season, although that would be great. It's just not really realistic at this point. But, I think this schedule is kind of something that you can look at and say, okay, we are not going to have a completely atrocious season. I think that's really refreshing to say after Ash all these years. The program just didn't have a pulse under him.
Right.
But yeah, I think Rutgers definitely has some hope going forward.
Yeah. I mean, considering we were the worst team in the Power 5 the past few years, now we're in a position where we can be competitive in the Big Ten. There's something to be said for that, So that's really good, and I'm happy about that. Moving on to the NFL, Week 8 was eventful. We saw the Cowboys and the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Travis Fulgham, Eagles wide receiver, got me some fantasy points, so I was grateful for that. But the Eagles won, and the Cowboys suffered another loss. The Cowboys, I think, are down in the dumps this year, unfortunately for them, unless Andy Dalton comes back and plays really well. But I don't see that happening with the state of the team right now. I think the Eagles are going to win the division. We keep saying that every week, but I just don't see any other possibility at this point. What do you think about that, Ray, as an Eagles fan?
With the way it stands now, I think that they definitely have the best chance to win the division. Cowboys right now are sitting at 2-6. Giants are at 1-7. Washington football team is at 2-5. So not really great prospects for the rest of the division, but also, you look at the Eagles schedule and they got some tough matchups coming up too.
Yeah.
So while it's not a given that the Eagles will win the division, I do think that they have the best shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are trying out their third stringer out there. His name is Danucci. I guess he's Italian. But yeah, I mean, he's a third stringer, so probably not gonna do much. Carson Wentz had 2 passing scores. Still nothing crazy, 123 yards. That's like a Noah Vedral yard total right there. But yeah, I think the Eagles 3-4-1, nothing special. They're not impressing anybody, but they're in the best shape out of, the rest of the division is simply a train wreck. I mean, the Giants were on Monday Night Football last night against the Bucs, and they actually kept it competitive. Daniel Jones drove the team down the field. They were down 25-17 in the fourth quarter. They drove down the field. They score a touchdown. Then they missed the 2-point conversion. And now they're 1-7. So, I mean, the Giants, they tried. They played their best, but Daniel Jones just turned the ball over too much in that game, as usual. And they lost 25-23. Jones had 2 picks. So, yeah. I think Daniel Jones is not the future in New York. Unfortunately, I think they need to look elsewhere. And yeah, would you have anything to say about the Giants, Ray, as an NFC East fan?
I mean, as an Eagles fan, I'm not fearful of them.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
If I were to be fearful, I think that says something about the state of the Eagles team. Thankfully, I'm not. But yeah, there's just really nothing I think going on with them right now. Daniel Jones is not really putting out the type of play that you want to see from him. After all the hype that kind of surrounded him in the past.
Yeah.
But listen, they're just kind of a team that's there. And I guess if you're a Giants fan, you just have to start looking toward the draft now. Moving on to another regional team. Let's talk about the Jets.
Let's talk about the Jets.
Rather than talk about all the gloom and doom surrounding them, though. Yeah. Josh, I believe you said earlier in the week that you had a positive take about them.
I do have a positive take. So here's the thing. I know it's strange to be positive about the Jets, but just hear me out here. The Jets are losing with a purpose right now. They're 0-8, and I think the master plan is to go 0-16 or 1-15 and get the first pick in the draft and get Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. All the analysts are saying Trevor Lawrence is the best prospect since Andrew Luck to come out of the draft, and I'm inclined to agree. For anybody who's not super up on college football, Trevor Lawrence 2 years ago came on as a freshman, a true freshman, and he led Clemson through the ACC right onto the national championship against Alabama, the best program in the history of college football, the best coach, Nick Saban, in history, and completely dismantles them, completely blows them out, completely dominates the game as a teenager, and it completely set the country on fire, right? It was just like a complete revelation. Who is this kid, Trevor Lawrence? He's amazing. So last season as a sophomore, he starts off a little shaky, but he improves and he leads Clemson back into the college football playoffs. He defeats Ohio State and Justin Fields, and he gets to the national championship again for the second straight season, then loses to Joe Burrow and LSU. Joe Burrow had the best season in college football history last season, so nothing to be too ashamed of there, in my opinion. But I think, and Ray, we always talk about why haven't the Jets fired Adam Gase? I think they have no intention of winning these games, and Adam Gase, as the coach, gives the Jets the best chance to lose the rest of the schedule and get the first pick. Then Gase will be fired after the season's over, and they'll get a new coach in the building. And, of course, it's all about the coach. Trevor Lawrence is not going to solve the Jets on his own. They need a good coach in the building, and I think they will get a good coach in the building because they have a lot of assets to turn the team around. They have the 4 draft picks in the next 2 years, thanks to the Jamal Adams trade with the Seahawks. And they have about $90 million in cap room last time I was reading about it, so they can sign free agents. And I think the Jets will be one of the better teams in the league within the next 3 seasons. So that's my hot take.
That is very refreshing to hear, considering we've been kind of, I don't want to say talking trash on them because it was more just like telling the truth the past couple weeks. But I think that's definitely an interesting take. I don't think Gase is going to be back next season, regardless of what happens throughout the rest of the year. But they are looking like they're going to be the spot that Trevor Lawrence ends up in. And I guess for that reason, you could have some hope as a Jets fan. But it's just a matter of, listen, if you're a Jets fan, you just got to stick it out until the end of the season. Yeah. I think you're almost halfway through the season. Hang in there. Better times are coming.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's definitely something that we could keep an eye on going forward. You know what? I think that wraps it up for this episode. That's going to be all for today. Make sure to join us next time on Keeping Score for more sports updates. And make sure to follow the Daily Targum on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content.